Today we're talking about streamlining your lead generation program using the Orbit framework. The Orbit framework is something we use a lot around Brilliant Metrics and use in our workshops. It really helps simplify and make the tasks of a marketer pretty straightforward. So as we dig in here today, a couple housekeeping items. First of all, please do post your questions into the chat. You can do that on the live stream, or you can do that here in Zoom. If we don't get to your question as we're working through the material, we'll definitely hit it up at the end. Also, if you sign up for this webinar in advance, you will get a copy of these slides in your email. If you didn't, there will be a QR code at the end. If you're coming in through the live stream or you're watching this recorded and you want those slides, we'll get those to you along with any resources we mentioned during the webinar. A little bit about me. My name is Steve Robinson. I'm the founder and CEO here at Brilliant Metrics. Previous to my role here at Brilliant Metrics, leading the agency, I was a software developer. I enjoy public speaking. I teach classes with UWM School of Continuing Ed. And if anyone's curious, I am married with 3 young children that make sure I do not get enough sleep at night. A little bit about Brilliant Metrics. We are a B2B digital marketing agency with a focus on strategy and continuous improvement. So I think what sets us apart from our peers is that A, we're focused on continuous improvement and always getting to the next level, and B, we are more collaborative with our clients than a lot of other agencies, helping them also personally and professionally get to the next level. Agenda today. We'll talk about the 2 main jobs that a B2B marketer has, at least as it pertains to a lead generation type of program. We'll go over the Orbit framework in brief detail. We'll talk about optimizing the first step in the Orbit framework, the second step in the Orbit framework, and the third step in the Orbit framework, which don't make any sense until I explain the Orbit framework. So as a marketer in a B2B context, you have 2 jobs. The first job is building relationships between your brand and your target market. So there's an author by the name of Bob Berg, wrote the book, The Go-Giver. He's often attributed for this quote, but I think this quote actually predates him by a long time as well. All things being equal, people do business and refer business to those people they know, like, and trust. Now, you can substitute the second people in that with brands, and it's still true. All things being equal, people will do business and refer business to brands they know, like, and trust. And so your number 1 job, or your first job as a B2B marketer, is to get as many people knowing, liking, and trusting your brand as possible. So on the know front, that really comes to them being able to recall your brand when it matters. That means an awareness of your company, your name, and what you do, and more importantly, your position in the marketplace. What makes you special? Why would you be the brand we would turn to in this particular instance? We look at liking. This comes down to values. Does that company share my core values? As a consumer, that matters to me. I'm not going to do business with a company that doesn't feel right to me. And so liking really comes down to sharing those core values or that brand positioning. We have a whole separate webinar on the brand vector process. This is where we work to help to align clients' brand positions with the values of their audience. And then finally, trust. Trust comes in a couple of different forms. One is social proof. Do I see others using your brand, using your products, using your services? And if so, it will cause me to feel safer using your product and service. And it also comes through demonstrations of competency. Are you being a thought leader in the marketplace? Are you presenting information? Are you being helpful? Are you providing tools? Are you providing a knowledge? All of that proves to build trust over time. The second job you have as a marketer is inciting action. You have a relationship. A relationship does nothing if it doesn't actually translate into business or revenue. And here there are really 2 things fighting against you. Assuming somebody has a perceived problem or opportunity that you can help with. Your mission is to help them overcome the 2 opposing forces, preventing them from actually doing anything about that problem or opportunity and engaging with your brand. And those are really procrastination and the incredible power of the status quo. To do that, you need to make an offer they can't refuse. So let's dig into the Orbit framework and explain how that actually helps do that. The Orbit framework is pretty simple. We start with your total addressable market. Now, your total addressable market isn't anybody who could ever buy from you. It is anybody who meets your ideal customer profile. That's the market part. And then you also have to look at the addressable part that you can reach. It doesn't count if you can't reach them. Now, thankfully, in 2024, we can reach almost anyone. So the addressable part's pretty easy. The market part is actually the hard part, figuring out who is an ideal fit for your product or service. That's part of positioning and part of a different webinar, though. So let's assume you know who you need to reach. Your goal is to get those people to become customers, or at least be in the pipeline to become customers, right? So the Orbit framework talks through the two key steps to get there. The step in the middle is what we call the orbit. This is where people stop. They pause here in many cases. The orbit includes all of your prospects and your partners, your relationships that have not yet become customers or moved into the pipeline. Now, these relationships are people who are on their way to knowing and liking and trusting you, or maybe they're already there yet, but they haven't had a good reason to act. And it could be they don't have a perceived problem or opportunity that you can help with. And it could be that they have a perceived problem or opportunity that you can help with, but the powers of inaction, procrastination, and the status quo prevent them from engaging with you to address the problem or opportunity that you could help with. The first step in building those relationships is to present a lead magnet. Now, a lead magnet is the opportunity for somebody to move from your total addressable market into your orbit. It's an offer, an opportunity to engage with you so they can begin that process of knowing, liking, and trusting you. And B, it's an opportunity for you to ask permission to know them, to put their name and email address or cell phone number into your database and reach out to them on an ongoing basis with marketing material. The second mission, this is where we present them with an offer they can't refuse, is your core offer that pulls your orbit into your pipeline. And here our goal is to overcome procrastination, overcome the status quo by presenting a core offer that maximizes urgency, scarcity, motivation, value to get your audience to act. Okay, so let's break this down and go through the three different steps. The first step is to get someone from your total addressable market into your orbit. We do that through a lead magnet. A lead magnet is a high value item. It could be a service, it could be a digital good, it could be a physical good that is offered for free in exchange for contact details. Let's go through what makes a good lead magnet. First of all, it's well targeted. One of my favorite examples comes from HubSpot. This is their website grader. This tool has been out on the HubSpot website for going on like 12 years now, and it has been a solid performing lead magnet for them this whole time. Why does it work? Well, because everybody wants to know how they're doing. They want that feedback, right? So if I can plug my web address in here, as a marketer, I know how well I'm doing at producing a good website. The people that are responsible for maintaining a good website or the quality of the website are often those making decisions about marketing automation platforms as well. And so HubSpot is able to attract leads that are exactly the same people that that they want to market to for their core offer, which is at least was their marketing hub for years. Now they've expanded and they've got the sales hub and they've got, a content management system on top of that. But at the time they released this, all they had was the marketing hub, but it was the same audience, exactly the same people. High value. In 2024, you cannot just go release an ebook. Your lead magnet has to be of of a higher caliber, of a higher value. So we're talking tools, we're talking events, we're talking physical goods, we're talking lists that would take someone hours to compile on their own. And above all, we're talking things that I can't get to through Google or ChatGPT or Microsoft Copilot or some other AI or search engine. These are things that they're of intrinsic value and can't just be stumbled on or searched. It compels action. So you're going to want to take advantage of some psychological characteristic, and we'll talk more about this next month. We'll really get into the behavioral psychology you can leverage. But for right now, just know that you want to take advantage of things like an information gap, which is what you see here. This is from Tony Robbins' website, where you can find out what kind of business owner are you. You go and you answer a bunch of questions, and you get to the end, and before they tell you what kind of business owner you are, you have to fill out a form. So now they have information that you don't have that you really want, right? And so they're able to capitalize on that to get you to fill out the form. It's those type of psychological triggers that will maximize your lead magnet. And finally, you need to build trust. You can't go less literally, more figuratively, Rick-rolling your audience. So make sure that if you dangle a lead magnet in front of them, that you're able to follow through with the value that you promise. Otherwise, you're just going to damage your brand. Finally, you're looking for follow through. So it's great if you have a lead magnet out there and you're capturing these names and these email addresses and they're popping into your address book, and yes, or your CRM. And yes, you've added some value in the process, but you have to make sure you follow that up. So this is a nurture automation from Mautic, one of our core marketing automation platforms that we use. Popping someone into a nurture like this, where they get a series of emails over time that add value and continue to nurture those people after they're in your orbit, is key, which is a great segue to our next topic, which is nurturing that orbit. So once you have someone in your orbit, they have taken some steps to get to know you, get to know, like, and trust you, at least to some extent. They've given you permission to market to them. Now what do you do? How do you grow that relationship? Well, let's break this down from the know, like, and trust model here. So from a know standpoint, one of our go-tos here is just simple brand advertising. This does two things. One, it reinforces your brand position, where you sit in the marketplace, what your core value is, what makes you different, as well as where you play. Like, your audience needs to put you in a box. They need to know that you make food service equipment, or they need to know that you are an accounting firm, right? So it puts you in a box, keeps your name top of mind for recall, and helps differentiate you. But you notice there's no strong call to action on any of these ads. We're not asking anyone to do anything because we want to repeatedly just pound this one simple message into their heads. On the like front, this gets into that brand positioning. So you'll want to make sure everything you produce has a strong visual brand identity. You'll want to make sure that that also has a strong voice and tone. These are things that should be in your brand guide. In addition to that, take a strong position. Taking a strong position, empathizing with your audience, helps you build that rapport and build that relationship and make them like you because your values align with theirs. And flat out display your values. So, this is an ad from IBM that just says, why are you still learning COBOL? It's 2023, people, right? Rallying for progress. That aligns with a lot of people's values. Progress, moving forward in technology. Finally, trust. You want to share thought leadership or really helpful guides that are deep and add significant value. In doing so, you position yourself in the marketplace as not just someone who wants to make a quick buck and sell something, but somebody that is invested in helping your audience move forward and improve their position and their opportunities. In addition to that, you're able to speak authoritatively about how to get them there. And in doing so, you build trust with that audience. So you have all this content, right? How do you get it out there? The three main tactics that we use to nurture the orbit are email, which is kind of the obvious one, right? Because you opted in, you got their email, but we want to build ideally an evergreen nurture on top of that email so that we are able to, and by evergreen, I mean the emails that we're putting in there sit in there basically for forever. They might need to be updated every couple of years or so, but we're not talking about like late breaking news or information that might be dated tomorrow. These are emails that can sit out there for a long time, and we flow people through a nurture. They start at everybody who they first starts at the top and gets email 1, email 2, email 3, email 4, email 5, etc. We'll build this out so that we've got a year and a half of email out there, and then start people over at the top again. That way, by then they've completely forgotten the emails they got from you last year. Pro tip though, you need to change the subject lines, otherwise they thread, and that's embarrassing. Email makes a ton of sense. The next tactic that we use is organic social. Ideally, you've encouraged these people to like or follow you on various platforms where you're present. Um, Organic social can be a little bit tricky. Email, you can personalize market segment wise. You can personalize down to the persona or individual role. There's lots of ways to personalize email. Organic social, you've got to be a little bit more generic and really play to your broader audience. So if your company isn't niched down on who they're targeting, sometimes organic social can be a little bit trickier. And then finally, paid media. You now have a database of these people. So you can use things like CRM targeting to go and reach out to them, upload their CRM list to Facebook ads, upload their CRM list to your ad platform, and have it match there. In addition to that, we used to use a lot of cookies, cookie or ID retargeting. So retargeting off of those people's browsers. That's starting to fade away. We've moved to some IP and some of the more opportunistic retargeting opportunities. It's a little bit harder in 2024, especially after about June when Chrome will finally completely deprecate third-party cookies to use paid media to retarget these audiences. But there are still ways to do it in slightly less effective ways. All right, so you've nurtured your orbit. Now we need to get the people in that orbit to become customers. This is that making them an offer they can't refuse. So to do that, you want to focus on what are the first steps to becoming a customer. And this is different for every organization. For us here at Brilliant Metrics, the first step is quality face time. It is adding value and building trust face to face, because nobody hires a marketing agency off the street. They don't flip open a phone book and point and say, oh, I'm going to hire these guys, right? That trust and that relationship really need to be there. And so FaceTime is our number one goal. Once you've identified that first step, then you need to come up with a series of time-boxed promotions to instigate action, overcome procrastination, overcome the status quo, and get them moving. You just need to build a little bit of momentum and start that first step in the sales process. So one of the ways that we do that for ourselves is we host events. Events are inherently time-boxed. If you don't sign up before the event, the window closes, right? And it's not going to come around for another several months. But that's just one example. You could also incentivize, taking a meeting with somebody and offer a free item. You could run a sweepstakes if you engage by a certain point and start the sales process. You can also offer unique bundles or add-ons or bonuses to your services or products that expire after a certain date if somebody doesn't bite before that date. There are lots of ways to do this. The key is create some urgency by time boxing it, rotate through the offers because something that appeals to one person isn't going to appeal to the next person necessarily. And I would strongly suggest that you avoid offering discounts for two reasons. One, as a B2B organization, your customer cares far less what they pay for your product than if it's going to work out for them. because really what they're paying, what the individuals making the buying decision are using to pay for your product is their own clout within the organization, their own social capital. If it goes well, they get promoted. If it goes poorly, then they have to hang their head in shame, and possibly even get reprimanded. The price isn't all that important. The second reason why you don't want to discount is it immediately opens the door to maybe your product or your service isn't worth the full dollar amount. And ideally, you want to cement that in your mind that your product or service is worth more than the full dollar amount. By discounting, you're implying that maybe it's worth less. So avoid discounts at all cost. So bringing these topics all together here. First, you want to nail your market. Don't try to market to everyone. Figure out who your ideal customer is and figure out how to address them, how to reach them, how to target them. Use a lead magnet to pull those folks into your orbit. Once you have them in your orbit, nurture the orbit, maximize know, like, and trust. Finally, rotate through a series of core offers to build pipeline or revenue. Pull those people in. And with that, I will open the floor to questions and put up that aforementioned slide where you can request the slides if you didn't pre-register for the event and you're coming in through the live stream. Trying to bring up the chats here in the various platforms. Okay, I don't see any questions. If I missed your question, please feel free to shoot us a message or an email. Connect with me on LinkedIn, connect with Brilliant Metrics on LinkedIn to get notified of future events like this. And I hope you have a wonderful day.